Welcome, viewers, welcome, listeners. Very happy to welcome Lisa Winston to yet another episode in our series, Trust, Moving from Trauma to Trust. And as we've been doing for all of the interviews, we start this interview, both of us, setting an intention, saying that this conversation that we're about to have takes you to wherever you need to be on this healing journey that you're on from trauma to trust. We are here holding the space for you to make that transition. And having said that and felt that from the deepest part of ourselves, we're going to start. And as I said, I'm really, really happy to welcome Lisa here. And she and I actually are also part of a coaching program that we both share a coach. She's further ahead than I am on this journey, but that's where I met Lisa first, and I just knew that she would be perfect for this summit. So she's also a singer, which happens, my daughter is too a professional singer, so there's that connection. But she's a professional. She's had a professional music career for over 40 years. She's also a speaker. She's a teacher. She's written a book. She's an artist, a life coach, and a mom, which often includes all of those things. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she lost her home to wildfires. So talk about trauma and moving from trauma to trust. And that's sort of what happens often when we go through something like that. Like we've talked about in some other interviews, you know, like it hits you with a feather, then it sort of gives you a little push, and then it hits you with a Mack truck. And that's when she realized that she really needed to make a change in her life. And now she's helping others do the same. She works with all age groups. She works with young women. She works with older women. And so it's just a pleasure, Lisa. Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking me. You know, when you asked me, I was like, I don't know how I can say no to that, you know, because it's like, it hits home. I mean, I think really in reality, what I've gone is Spirit has actually brought me away from talking about my trauma, because I had so much of it up until I was about 50, because I'm facing forward. But I think it's really important to acknowledge it. It happened, and then move from there. So I feel like as opposed to getting stuck in we get to acknowledge it and then move forward. And also, when you say that I've been singing for over 40 years, it makes me sound really old. Am I really that old? I am. Oh my God. I started when I was 2, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's a pleasure to be here, and any way that I can support people, I would love to do that.
Thank you, and thank you for saying that you don't want people to be stuck in the trauma or in any kind of victimhood, because the whole purpose of this is, so the full title of the summit is trauma to trust, moving from trauma to trust, living a life of power, passion, and purpose after tragedy. So that's what the intention of the summit is, that to let people know that it is possible to move from trauma to trust. And if you have to stay in that space while you find your feet, we're here to hold your hand. But to also show you that there are lots of people, all of these people that we've been talking to have had significant trauma in their life, different types of things that people have talked about, but they have moved through it and are now living a much more powerful, passionate life. And that is the message of the summit. So I just wanted to emphasize that. So Lisa, I always start off the interview by asking the guest to tell us the story of your journey.
Oh boy.
In this particular case, we are talking about a journey from trauma to trust, and you can take that however
yeah.
you want.
So I don't have my glasses on. I can't see my clock very well. So just if I ramble on too long, make sure you reel me in. I'm not going to okay, so I think it's very long. So I think I can pretty much sum it up for everybody. And why I love doing what I do is because I have experienced so much suffering in my life. And I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to get on the other side of that. I really came onto the planet with a ton of fear. My mother said, she'd move over to the crib to, pick me up, and I'd hear one board go and I'd start screaming. I had a lot of very weird experiences. Somebody tried to kill me. I was run over by a tractor. I almost had my leg cut off. I had all kinds of weird things, magnetized to me. And plus I didn't know that I was a sensitive, energetic, intuitive. And so I would hear people walking around upstairs, and I'd hide behind a chair when my parents were gone when I was very young, because I thought, somebody was coming to get me. And I had nobody in my household knew who I was. So it really amplified what I was going through. And of course, down the road, right, as I have my experiences and I went to doctors, they all pretty much said that I was crazy and needed, psychological help. So, and that was a story from our family also, that we had mental illness in our family. So these ideas get very solidified at a very young age, and then we start to play them out. But suffice it to say, I kept moving, went through school, hated school, had a lot of trauma, grew up, went on the road to sing, went through 5 years of college, then went on the road to sing. Had a lot of failed relationships, ended up getting married, had 2 very toxic, abusive relationships, and had 2 divorces. I have a beautiful 22-year-old daughter from one of those, and she's really suffered as well, and she's working her way through that right now. She's amazing. And then, of course, I had a 15-year relationship that was very toxic as well. I was sick all the time, depression, anxiety. I'd be on my knees praying. I think I spent tens of thousands, if it even ends there, on nutritional supplements and, CDs and DVDs and courses and certifications and reading. Just trying to find out what was wrong with me, why I couldn't get beyond my misery and my suffering. My mother used to say to me, well, you're never happy no matter what you do or where you go. That's a great thing to tell a kid, by the way. Love my mom, but, when our parents were usually, unconscious. And so anyway, I kept moving forward. And then when I was in my 15-year relationship, I actually ended up, we lost our house to wildfire in San Diego in 2007 with about 10 minutes to get out with our 2 dogs and my daughter. And that was all we got. My daughter had lost 2 homes to wildfire within 4 years. So she lost her home with her dad 4 years previous, and then we lost our home. 2 months after that, because we had moved around about 5 times trying to find a place to land for rental within my daughter's school district. An indentation on my breast. I went in and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So 2 months after losing my home and everything I had to go through breast cancer surgery and biopsy and radiation and all that stuff while I was rebuilding my house. So, and then I got back to the house after it was rebuilt, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't know what to feel. So it was just one thing after the other. And I think the fire really was the 2x4, the universal 2x4 across my head, because I had been praying, be careful what you ask for. I was praying to die to self about 2 years previous to the fire. And I said, my band business was burnt out. I was burnt out on singing. And so everything got burned up. So, it's very profound when you start thinking about what you say, what you think, what happens. And I had been asking for help, and that was my help. That was my choice. So when I got back to the house, I felt nothing. I felt the relationship was over. And I knew a few years after that if I wouldn't leave the relationship, I would die. It was very toxic and made me feel very heavy in my body and very sick. And so with very little money, I didn't get anything for the house. I didn't take much furniture with me, but I packed my daughter up, and I think I was maybe 50. I'll be 58 next month. And I moved out of the house and got another job. I got 2 jobs. So at some point, I literally made a decision to start changing my life. I felt I was called to something better. I didn't know what it was. I had to really trust. And so part of the chapter that I wrote in the book that I co-authored was trust the journey, trust the process, trust the journey. So when you're called to something different, you start walking. Is it going to be perfect right away? No. Is it going to be easy? Not necessarily, but you need to move. So that was my my entryway into all the things that I've done to work on myself and a new way of being was making that decision, that pivotal moment. So that's what happened in a nutshell.
A couple of things that I wanted to emphasize. One is the really profound truth that you said, that the universal 2x4 is actually a great kindness. It is not done out of malice. It is because there is no other way to make you step into the change that you keep saying you want.
Yeah.
So that is a big thing. And it's interesting because I just participated in a book, listeners have heard me say this before, in which the chapter that I wrote was on trust.
Wow. We're aligned.
Yeah. And the way I defined trust was letting go, resting back, flowing with life, knowing that it's always unfolding in your favor. Yeah. So that's what this first answer demonstrates, actually. Despite what you might think are such horrible things, you're always being prepared for the greater life. And so if those of you who are going through something that seems unimaginable, we are here to tell you that there is another side to that. So you are now helping other people walk the journey in many ways. So I think, could you tell us something about all of the tools that you use to move to? The other thing I also wanted to say, this also came up in another interview, is that sometimes, the path may not be clear. It might just be one step that you know where to take.
That's usually it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you do. You take that step.
Right.
And then there'll be earth in front of you, and you take the next step. So
that's super important. I love that. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, I was also raped and molested and abused. So I want everybody to get this full scope, right? I am now, if you look at pictures of me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I looked like I was half dead. I was not the same person. I look so much younger today than I ever did. So I want everybody out there to understand that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, you get to make a new choice. You get to fight for your life. I don't like using the word fight, but when you're in a struggle, if you don't have that survival mechanism to get out, which I consider fighting for your life. I mean, your life is worth something. If you don't make that first step, if you don't put yourself first and you don't take a step pro yourself, then it's not going to be good for you. And if you do, life is always in your favor. Always. When you say yes to life, life says yes to you. So I love what you said about taking that first step, because in reality, that's all we can take. And it's a journey, like you were talking. I mean, the destination is the journey. We always think we're going to find the magic pill. I tell my clients all the time, there are a billion processes out there, right? Every coach is doing a process, and we're racking our brain. Who's the right one to go to? What's the right, process? What's the magic pill? What's going to cure me and heal me now? Well, none of them. I always say, go with your gut. If you resonate with somebody, it's an energetic exchange. That's where the transformation happens. All the tools are good. It's better if you're with somebody who you resonate with. So I think initially I just started praying more. I'm more metaphysical now. I used to be a born again years ago. I went through all kinds of religions, and it's like I have a better connection with God than I ever did. Spirit, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Yeah. But I really strengthened my knowing there. I read a lot of books, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer. I really immersed myself in books, spiritual material. I went and got certified in Qigong. And I really started learning about myself as an energy being and taking, charge of that. And the thing is again, that you could do that for 4 hours a day, and nobody has 4 hours a day. So I utilize what I can now, right? Yeah. So it was like every year was kind of torturous, but I just was determined. I'm going to get where I'm supposed to go. I know I'm being called. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to keep moving. I kept moving. So I think probably about 3 years in is when I met our coach. And that was a huge step for me, because I had tried to do the journey by myself.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult when you don't have support, you don't have a community, you don't have accountability. It's really, we always fail. We just do because we need hand holding. We need somebody there when we break down. So coaching and mentoring changed my life, and that's why I actually coach and mentor now also, because I love encouraging people. We're really like, energetic cheerleaders. And I love that because I really see the greatness in every woman that comes. They're so brilliant at a soul level. It's incredible. So I hold them very high. But you're asking about processes. I can give a couple really simple ones. Again, there are all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And you guys just have to be open to finding, your way. There are bigger processes. Let me state something too. Like a lot of times people will say if you have trauma, it's like, well, that's in the past. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But in reality, my daughter and I both had PTSD, and we've had it since 2007. We'd see fires and we'd start freaking out. My daughter would cry, she'd call, and I'd be like, oh my God, various things would happen. And I knew that I was holding an emotional charge in my body. So I suggest for anybody who has any kind of trauma in their lives, we hold emotional energy in our body, and that gets stuck, and that creates dis-ease. So I can't give you one today that wouldn't take quite a while, but like releasing fear or making friends with your fear is a big one. Forgiveness is a big one. Finding processes. I do a couple of processes where you literally go through and you find the energy, the spot, the place that when you say something like a particular word or whatever, you'll get a feeling in a part of your body, and you actually follow that through, because then you see where it is in your body that you're holding that trauma, and you actually release that. And so there's some work to be done. It's not an easy process. I mean, we're mind, body, spirit. So if you really get away from any of those things, you're not addressing yourself as a whole being. So energetically, mindset is huge. I do a lot of mindset work. I'm telling you right now, the way you think, the way you speak, creates your reality. And if you're stuck in a victim mindset, you're going to create more of that. So I think it's imperative that we shift people's mindsets around. I mean, it's crazy. A good one is for everybody to say, I'm enough. I am enough. Anything you do, any step you take is enough.
Yeah.
Everything you do is enough. Don't beat yourself up that you haven't done enough, or you don't know enough, or you haven't gotten far enough. Everything is enough. You've got to be easy on yourself, love yourself, and just take one baby step at a time. But anyway, a couple of things. I have this great, my Kundalini yoga master who actually, she's on a couple of my summits. Guru Tej, I love her with my heart. I actually practiced with her here in LA. And she loves to give really quick energy tips and tools, and that's what I like to incorporate in my daily life. So another thing I'd like to share with everybody is that life mastery is a practice. Like, you can't do an affirmation or an energy process once a week and expect to have anything happen. You're rewiring your brain, you're using a new muscle, you're relearning patterns and ways of being. And so to take something small and do it every day will really help. And I think, what is it now? They changed it, but it's like, it takes several months, really, not 21 days to form a new habit, to form a new groove in your head. So you've got to do it over and over. But there's one that I love, because this one really works for panic attacks, for anxiety. It rewires the, the sympathetic nervous system. I've done it when I was on an airplane once and I was having a panic attack. But you literally, if you can roll your tongue, if you can see me, I don't have my glasses on. So if you could roll your tongue, and breathe in through that. Or if you can't do that, act like you're sipping through a straw. So it'd be like, and so what you do is, when you sip through a straw or roll your tongue and breathe through your mouth that way, you can take a much longer, deeper breath. Okay, so you're going to do it that way, and then you're going to breathe out through your nose. Within 2 or 3 breaths, you can feel everything just shifting. There's a sense of calm and peace. Yeah. So I'm going to do it through the mouth. So we would just go, close your eyes and just go. Out through the nose. Let me do it again. Out through the nose. Do it all very slowly. And if you do that a few times, you can just feel this peace come over you. It really helps with the anxiety. I use it all the time. It's one of these, I have a lot of these, I call it, my toolbox, where I have a lot of quick processes that I learn and can use at a moment's notice. I also have, there's some, the clear energy. Remember, you're an energetic being. You really are. And we're surrounded by energy and people. So there's one process that I do that I love that also brings a very meditative state. Most people say, you know, I can't meditate. I don't have time to do that, or I can't quiet my mind. And so a process that I learned from a group that I actually got licensed as a mentor with years ago, we would just, you know, Qigong is holding energy between your hands anyway. But I just bring in this energy, and I teach a process where, you know, you just hold energy, like the energy of consciousness. You ask for it to be amplified through your head and your body. So you're bringing in consciousness, you know, universal consciousness, and you're asking it to be amplified through your head and through your body. And you just imagine it going through your body. Oh my gosh, every time I do that, I feel like butter. I mean, it's like, and as you do it, as you practice it, you may not feel anything. You can bring in the energy of self-love, self-worth, self-belief, anything that you feel you're missing. Bring that energy in between your hands. What I'd love people to do is to start playing with their hands, the energy of it. Some people can't feel anything at first. And you can't be rigid. We are energy. We're actually energy. And actually, when they look at our, you know, our bodies and they look at the molecules, we're actually space. We actually aren't even here. I love that. So it seems solid enough, right? So I love people to get into, with Qigong, you do things very slowly. And if you do that long enough, you can actually feel, like we do an energy ball. You can feel, if you go very slowly, you'll start feeling the energy between your hands. Your fingers will tingle, you know. And so you get to play with that. And then when you start bringing this energy in, you have to believe it, even if you can't see it or feel it. And you get to practice it over and over. It's a practice, because the more you do it, the more your belief increases and the more the energy comes in. When you get out of your way, you just align, because you already are energy. Your mind's in the way. Remember, your mind can only take you back to your previous experiences, because the mind is finite. It only has your previous experiences to draw from. So if you're going to your mind for relief or answers or anything else, you're going to get, you know, danger, danger, Will Robinson. You know, you don't go there. It's not safe, because your mind will always take you back. So you want to connect with your spirit, your energy. Always drop from your head into your heart space. Listen to your heart, not your head. So you always want to just really energetic. I mean, for me, aligning, walking, being in nature, spending time, closing my eyes, breathing, deep breathing is life. And if you skip that and you go about your day and you drink your coffee and you work really hard and you have a freak out moment or whatever, you're going to feel the heaviness in your body. Your body's going to say, wait a minute, you skipped a step. You're not taking care of me. You're not managing, you know, your energy. I mean, I do some yoga too. I do you can do 5-10 minutes a day of energy processes, yoga, just a move. Like the other day with my friend Julie, I was doing one. She's a yoga teacher, and she did a happy baby, you know, where you lay on your back and you grab your feet and your legs are out and you roll. Your body wants to move. You can dance for 5 minutes. Your body wants to move. And if you don't do that, you're going to feel it in your body. You're going to get achy. You're going to get heavy. You're going to get tired. And then again, always immerse yourself. If you need support, get support. It's a journey. I can't give you processes right now because it is such a long journey, but this is a part of in reality, when you're going through trauma, again, releasing emotional energy, getting support. I believe therapy works for talking, and I believe coaching works in other ways as well. So it's really critical and imperative that you get help and you get support, and then you get to learn all this other fun stuff as you go along in the journey. So lots of pieces.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we're doing here is giving you a space where you get to experience the stories of various people who have made this journey. You also hear about different things that each one of them did to take this journey from trauma to trust. And you pick and choose. And if something resonates with you, we're creating a Facebook group. We've created a Facebook group. You can directly contact the what I'm calling life expert through that Facebook group, or you'll have their websites in the email. So there isn't any one technique that will work for everyone. And every technique will not work for you all the time. So you are an evolving being, and so the processes you use, the thoughts that come to you, the teachers that come into your life change as you progress. So keep that in mind. The big message is that it is possible, that you can do it.
If I could do it, anybody could do it. You know.
So the other, this is sort of where I ask you about, since you've been coaching for a few years now, about sort of real life examples of people that really stand out in your head.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to share too that just came up. There's also, right, taking care of your body, like eating right, sleeping, etc., energetic management, mindset. There's another piece, and that is our coach, as you know, she really is big on mindset. She's really big on actually making decisions, creating commitments. You know, what are you going to do? What are you committed to creating, and by when? And so I also wanted to tell people, like, you know, a lot of times when we're stuck in our emotional body, we don't have any emotional intelligence because we've been wounded and we're very reactive to everything. Yeah. So first of all, you can work through that to a space where you start owning your own emotional intelligence, your own power, and you start making better decisions. Sometimes it takes a while. But again, if you want change, I suggest what I've learned over the years, and it's not been easy, but it's, again, if there's something you want and you say, oh, I'm going to do that by next month, or maybe 3 months down the road, I'm going to do it, you won't do it. So if you really want to do something or start something or, you know, work on something, it's great to just say what you want, state it, what you're going to create, when you're going to start. You actually pick a date to start. You may put the money down for a program. You may do whatever. But again, and then get accountability, because the only way you can really make progress is by actually taking responsibility, making a commitment, and taking action to go forward. And again, a lot of times people think, you know, if I do this program, I may not get where I want to be. You always get where you need to be. Yeah. And each step leads you down the road to another step. So I just wanted to bring that up. It just came forward to me. I have some really cool people. I had a lot of people come to me. Actually, my very first client was a man. And it was really interesting because he hit a wall about month 8, and then he actually came back to make a huge transformation. But he had a lot of dis-ease in his body, and a lot of it was his mindset. So we just had to keep working over and over, you know, and he really got it. I had another woman come to me who really she's been very wounded. She's had a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse. And she, I didn't even think that she was coachable, but she really wanted to work with me. And so I took her on. She didn't have a lot of money. She found a way to come up with money, and she shows up every week. And I've had her for almost a year. But she really amazed me and surprised me because she's just a warrior goddess. You know, she shows up, and even if she doesn't get something, and even if she hits a wall, and even if she has a bad day, she keeps showing up, and she's had some major transformations. Yeah. So it's a matter of really just making the commitment, showing up, doing the work, and allowing whatever happens to happen. It's all okay, and having that safe space to do it in. And so it's really all over the map. And there are people, by the way, that I have not taken who I believe need an abuse counselor or a therapist to work through some really heavy stuff. So that's all, because, you know, a coach, I mean, therapists and coaches are, you know, proceed differently. Yeah. And they're just, so if it feels like somebody's really on the edge, or they need more than I can give them, then I would refer them to somebody that I believe would, you know, be helpful in that department. Yeah. So there are a lot of different ways to handle it. But it's fun. It's great taking on a challenge. You know, it's like, you know, when you go through trauma, and you're able to break through it yourself, and you literally unaged. And it doesn't mean my life's perfect all the time. No, I told you I'm in a leadership program 4 months right now. It's kicking my butt. I mean, I stretched my plate this year. I coach for my coach. You know, I have my own clients. I'm in my leadership program. It's hurting a bit, but the only way to stretch is that you get to a point, like, the more you take on every year, the more you're able to expand and take on. So maybe this year you're not able to handle much. Next year you'll handle a little more, and the next year you'll handle more. And so it's really cool because I'm still coming up against resistance. But I get to see it clearly. I get to feel it. And then I get to take the risk of pushing through it in a bigger way, like I have never experienced before. Like my daughter the other day wanted me to dance on the beach with her. and there were people watching. You know, she's a goddess and she's dancing, and I'm like, no. And I really, you know, and I was like, people are watching that, you know, and I was really uncomfortable. And so it's just one of those things, again, take the first step.
Yeah. You ended up doing it. I saw it on Facebook, and you ended up doing
it. Did you? I moved a little. I think I was a little robotic. My daughter's this goddess, and I'm like, okay. So, but, you know, we're always evolving. I mean, if you get a coach that says they know it all, well, if they knew it all, they'd be off the planet. And we're, you know, this is all about being vulnerable and transparent. We're all on a journey. We're just in different places. That's all. So, yeah, I've had some lovely clients. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, no. So what you're doing with your clients is sort of you're holding their hand, allowing them to move through the steps that you've already moved through.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, the energy of this year supports it. I really feel I've got a lovely group right now, and they're just brilliant women, and the energy between us is so phenomenal. And that's, like I said, transformation can get messy. Yeah. But transformation can come in a space of, you know, when you attract all the right people in and just doing things together and upholding them, uplifting them, seeing the brilliance in them and moving from that space. You just want them to feel better. Like I said, we don't dig a lot into what happened before. We acknowledge it, and then we want to be the best we can be, so that we move forward in that way.
Yeah. So do you do group programs and individual coaching? What do you do?
I do. I have my group program, and that goes for 8 months. Just started it, and I'm still, you know, taking people in until the end of the month. I do private clients, and I also am expanding because there are a lot of people who have money issues, which in reality, you know, everybody hates addressing this, right? They're like, they're real. My money issues are real. Yeah. But if you want to do something badly enough, you'll find a way to do it. And I find that all the time. There are people that come to me all the time that have no money. And they find a way to do it because that's their stretch. If you give things away for free, people get no value from it. So there has to be value in whatever you're offering, and you have to stretch people so that they actually show up and do the work. But I'm starting to offer also packages of sessions and also shorter monthly coaching programs, just so people can get their feet in. It's like, I can't help you if you don't show up. And so I'm giving you every option and opportunity at different price points to show up and just, you know, check it out. You know, is it
so what is the group program about? What do you teach in the group? What do you?
Oh, thanks for asking. Well, the group program this time is called the Quantum Success Academy, and I'm really working with a lot of women over 50, but again, I work with a lot of women under 50, so nobody's excluded, but it's really just a way to, you know, come into your creative expression, you know, start working with your self-love and start, you know, I don't know, writing love letters to yourself and various things that you never do, nurturing yourself. And then also working on your intuition. You know, who am I as an intuitive being? They always say trust your gut, learning how to trust your gut and practicing, and energy management. So there are a lot of different pieces that we address, and then we actually create a plan for the year because there's also strategy involved. You know, we can be woo-woo all day long. If we don't have specific strategies to get to the next step or the next year or whatever it is we're going to do, then it's really difficult. So we try to address a little bit of all of that. And again, in 8 months to a year, we don't, you know, it's not going to change everything for you in a red second, you know, but it's that, like you and I know, right? You show up, you do this piece, and then you move forward, and then you show up and do the next piece, and you grow each time, and you learn more and you open more. So that's the journey, and it's beautiful, and it's so much fun, and I love it. I absolutely love helping women. It's so much fun.
And you also do individual clients, Lisa? I do.
Yeah. I take men too, but I don't know. I think most of the men in my tribe are thinking, "Wow, she doesn't want to work with me." I'm like, but I mean, I'm really called, I think, more to women. Just because that's what I'm called to, but I don't really say no to anybody. So yeah, because we all, you know, we all have male and female energy. So
yeah. And you also have a free gift for the viewers and listeners.
I do. I'm keeping it super simple. It's the Clearing Resistance Toolkit. I'm probably going to be toolkits that I use, and this one I thought was great for people who have gone through trauma, because when you come up with, you know, resistance against it, it's like, what do I do? There's this big thick wall and I can't get around it. I don't know what to do. And I've had a couple of those moments. I mean, that's why I love sharing, because I've had the experience of this over and over and in a greater way, and I get to see how to get out of it. And oftentimes, like I remember when I hit a wall really big one day and I was taking a walk and I'm like, how do I get out of the resistance? How do I get out of the resistance? I just felt this heaviness. And then I realized, I just needed to get out of my head, because I kept saying, how can I get out of the resistance, which was resistance in itself. Yeah. And so, I came back in and I just aligned energetically, and I did some meditations, and I breathed, and I wrote down what it was. I journaled, because I love to do that. And, you get these epiphanies, these synchronicities that happen, these things that you start seeing, and you get the hits of what it is, and how to, move through it. Mm-hmm. But resistance, again, is generally fear of being judged, fear of being seen, fear of being vulnerable, fear that you're going to fail. There's all kinds of fear, right? So resistance is just you being afraid to take a chance and do something differently than you've done it before, because you've had a bad experience with doing whatever it was that is bringing up the resistance. So in the toolkit, basically, it's a couple of my whole theme is keep it simple. Because nobody has a lot of time to do stuff. So it's a couple of easy meditations. They're very short. You can expand on them if you want. There's a guide sheet in there when you come up against resistance, where you can actually, go through and answer some questions, reflective writing. And then I also offer a complimentary 30-minute call with me as well, if you need further assistance in getting through resistance, or, wanting to know your next step, or whatever it is. So it's an easy toolkit that you can use when you hit a wall. Awesome.
One of the things that came up for me when you were talking was recently we've had some stuff going on in our family. My nephew actually killed himself a few months ago.
Oh my goodness! And, sorry.
So there was and there's been other things going on, and at one point I had to sort of say a breakthrough for me was to say, I'm willing to be afraid. I am actually willing to go through this and stop crunching my energy in because I didn't want to feel it, and which is what resistance is. And so to just open yourself up and say, I can survive this that's one of the things that I want to tell everyone. What we want to say, this is something that I wrote in my chapter as well, is that what we are trying to tell you is that what I've said a couple of times here, that you can move through it, and also that feeling the fear and feeling the uncertainty will not make you disintegrate. That's kind of our fear, that we'll sort of not be able to take it, but we are all here holding that space for you, allowing you to feel everything you need to feel, and show you that you don't actually disintegrate. It's okay to feel everything and then move on. So that just came up when you were talking.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and to add to that, what I love about that is the other piece is, you probably have done this too, where a lot of times we talk about the past or our wounds, or, we have this self-talk that goes on. It's a loop. But I've really found what helps as well is, and I love what you said, I'm willing to, because that's a powerful, powerful statement. But also playing around more with statements like, what if? Why couldn't I? Or, like pulling yourself out of the, I can't, this old negative energy, and you want to put the energy on the possibility of what could be. And so you get to actually play around with that a little bit. I can't remember if that was Louise Hay or whatever, but I had read somebody who'd said that, no, it was Abraham Hicks. I love their stuff. And they were like, say these statements, well, what if I had this incredible life that I really love, and this body that feels good all the time? And why wouldn't I be able to do it? Why couldn't it be me? What if? So it's like all these things that you can play with mindset wise to get yourself feeling better. The willing part is, I think, a huge breakthrough piece for people just to be okay with the resistance.
Yeah.
And then what I'm sharing is, I think, what can move you forward and out of that resistance onto something else. Yeah. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So we're almost sort of towards the end of the interview. Is there something that you absolutely thought we needed to cover that we didn't, and you'd like to sort of wrap up?
Yeah, the only thing that's coming forward, and this is spirit, this is a love letter to each one of you. And I I feel very emotional because I feel you now energetically in this interview, and that is that you all get to hear this, and this is truth coming from spirit, from your higher self, your most inner space of love and sacred love and joy. And that is that you are loved, you are brilliant, you are seen, you are courageous, you are powerful beyond belief. You can do anything, have anything, be anything. This illusion that you have in front of you that seems so solid, as I was speaking into earlier, is not truth. It's an illusion, you know, that's stuck in place with our senses. And it's not who we are. We're infinite beings of potential and possibility and opportunity. We're creating experience to have experience, no matter how bad or good it seems. I like not to label it. So don't label your experiences as bad or good. Label them as just an experience that you came here to have and rise above. You've got everything you need within you to rise above any challenge. And you get to hear that because that's truth, and take that in your being when you get down. So just know that you have everything you need already within you to rise above everything and just shine brilliantly. And that's my highest hope for you, all of you.
That's a great way to end this, Lisa. Thank you so much. I really felt that.
Thank you.